Hello, welcome to the self-learning platform by Dr. Sushma Singh. Today we start Unit 7, John Locke. And we start with topic the Lockean legacy. John Locke is one of the central figure in modern European political thought. The most characteristic term for this thought is liberalism. Though this term has both conservative and radical implications, the concept liberalism has undergone several changes during the course of time. There is a classical form of liberalism and also one which we call neoliberalism. Locke's liberalism contains both conservative and radical elements. Its original inspiration is the metaphysical idea of natural law and divine reason, rooted in the classical tradition of philosophy represented by Roman lawyer St. Thomas Aquinas and Richard Hooker. Its modern version is as emphasized by Locke himself in the form of individual natural rights to life, liberty, and property, and resistance to arbitrary political power became part of the general political discourse and practice during the 18th century and inspired thinkers like Tom Paine, Jefferson, and Rousseau. On the more empirical and pragmatic side, it influenced the English utilitarian and also in some way thinkers like Hume and Adam Smith. With the growth of positivist scientists and empiricist methodology, the rationalistic aspect of Locke's theory, belief in the transcends deity and natural law, was relegated to the limbo of metaphysics. But his view about natural rights, especially the right of property, were incorporated in the libertarian liberalism of the 19th and 20th centuries. Writers like Rawls, Dworkin, and Nozick, especially the last one, bear clear imprint of Locke's thinking and profess affinity to him. But this affinity of the Locke to modern liberal thinkers is established only at the cost of ignoring the religious and metaphysical aspect of his thought. Here, it would be pertinent to refer to the sober reflections of Professor Raymond Pollin. We have tried to show, on the contrary, that the freedom for him is nothing but the means given by God to human creatures capable of intelligence, reason, and society to incorporate themselves into the order of this world. When they grow mature enough to discover and understand its meaning, freedom as such is always to be understood as correlative with order. The human being Locke discovers as a being capable of freedom and reason is bound to the divine order of the world through an obligation, the obligation to make himself actually free and reasonable, either in the order of the relations he establishes with other men or in his relations with the reasonable order of the world. For Locke, freedom exists and is meaningful only if it is bound to the obligation to achieve a reasonable order and a moral one. This principle lies at the bottom of any true and efficient liberalism. Now let us have a look at the summary of the unit. John Locke has been interpreted differently by different people. One controversy relates to the alleged conflict between his empiricist theory of knowledge in his An Essay Concerning Human Understanding and the rationalist view of natural law in the second treatise of civil government. It has been argued that the notion of natural law cannot be reconciled with the overall empiricism of Locke, which shows in his theory of origin of knowledge in experience and reflection. The natural law constitutes an integral part of Locke's political theory. For him, it is pre-political and not pre-social, as men are social by nature. The state of nature is a state of peace, goodwill, mutual assistance, and self-preservation. It has the law of nature, which is God's reason to govern it. Another important concept of Locke's is the natural right to life, liberty, and property, derived from natural law and limited by it. Man does not have unlimited rights of appropriation. They are limited by labor limitation, sufficiency limitation, and spoilage limitation. Since men are by nature free, equal, and independent, no one can be subjected to political power of another without his own consent. Thus, common consent is required to form civil society, after which a government or legislative has to be established to execute natural law. This authority or the legislative is the supreme authority. Besides this, there are two other powers of the Commonwealth. The executive includes judicial power and the federative concerned with foreign affairs. The executive is answerable to legislative. The legislative cannot rule by arbitrary decrees, but only through promulgated and established law. On sovereignty, Locke states that behind the authority of the legislature, there is an ultimate sovereignty of the people, which was later termed as popular sovereignty. Locke has been criticized for not explaining the concept of consent, even though the fundamental principle of this theory is based on consent. He has also been described as an apologist of the glorious revolution. Rebellion or resistance is an essential part of his philosophy, but he does not clearly state who has the right to rebel, and critics even say that he gave that right only to the landed aristocracy, but this has been debated. Here we want to wind up this lecture and we have come to the end of the unit. Thank you so much for your attention.